Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I'm going to go through my currently inked for the month of January 2024. First up, we have the Montegrappa Mia, and I've shown this several times on this channel. Next is the Leonardo Momento Zero Foresta Umbra, the Gold Spot exclusive. We have a LIY resin. We have the Penlux Masterpiece Grande in Brown Wave. We have a Hongdian N11. This is the Blue Twill. A PenBBS 535 Year of the Ox. A Conklin Durograph Savoy. A Visconti Homo Sapiens Dark Crystal. I've also shown this several times on the channel. A Mahjong P135. A fairly new acquisition, but I do have another version of the same pen in blue. I think I've shown that one on this channel. I have a Kaco Edge and a Waterman Corinne. So I'm going to go through each of these. This is actually my second time filming this video. So what I had to do to save some time, I just cut out my swatches from my first video. I made quite a few mistakes in that video, so I just decided to scrap it and start all over. So first up, we have the Montegrappa Mia, and like I said, I've shown this several times on this channel. This remains my favorite pen. So this is the nib. It is a fine 14 karat nib, and there's the feed. And one of the issues I had with my previous video was the focus, so I'm trying to go back to a 2-camera operation here, so hopefully that'll be a little bit better. Montegrappa Mia. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Montegrappa. And as I said, this is a fine 14 karat. And the ink is been pretty much the same ink the whole time that I've had this pen. And it's Diamond, Writer's Blood. Fairly wet pen. Not too much line weight variation. But I can't really explain in words what it is about this pen that I love so much. And it's the same kind of feeling I had with all the Montegrappas. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's just something about the way they write that just feels like no other. So that's the Montegrappa Mia. Beautiful pen, and this is a Jonathan Brooks primary manipulation. I'm not sure if it's a 1 or 4. And I bought that from Italian Pens. Next, we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Foresta Umbra, the Gold Spot exclusive. And I have number 117 out of 150. It says right there. See, there's a little tree. There's this beautiful resin. A lot of browns and greens. A little yellow. Just a beautiful, beautiful pen. And has a black nib. And the feed. And like the Montegrappa Mia, it's a cartridge converter filler. This one has a blind cap, the Mia doesn't. Although I've never used a blind cap, but I definitely see the use in them. I just never use them. But this is the Leonardo. Momento Zero. Foresta Umbra. This is a fine steel nib. A beautiful steel nib, very smooth. And this is Diamond Inkvent 2022. And this is spruce. Spruce has a smell to it, but I can't really smell it right now. I love the smell of the ink. So that's the Foresta Umbra. Very beautiful, beautiful pen. So this is the LIY resin. I have another LIY that is, it's white and like light blue. A little bit prettier than this one. This is not my favorite look, but I like the other one so much that this was pretty much the only one they had left in stock. So I bought this from, I believe, Pen's World on eBay. So that's the finial there. And that's pretty much all the decoration that's on this pen. It's very simple, and I can't quite make out what that is. See if I can put it here. I don't think I can. Can't quite make out what that is, what that pattern is. But this is also a cartridge converter filler. So this is the LOY. And all three of these have hard started just a tiny bit. I have had these just kind of sitting here since my last video, so maybe that's why. So this is a fine Schmidt steel nib. It does have quite a bit of feedback. But not bad feedback. It probably could use a little bit of smoothing. And the ink is Montegrappa green. For the most part, it's a pretty firm nib. Reverse, very nice in reverse. And a little wet. Nib just have a little bit of a bend to it, but it doesn't affect the performance at all. So that's the LIY. It's a little green, some pearl, little blue, mostly purple and black. But overall, these are pretty nice pens. They're not cheap pens. I think they're like $60 or $70 or something like that. So I have to go back to the Leonardo. I forgot to do my figure eights. Also a firm nib. I have a feeling that this would be a little bit wetter. No, not really. But decent wetness. So that's those three. So you can see the writer's blood and the spruce is very kind of a viscous ink. And then the Montegrappa green was just, it's a lighter, quite a bit of a lighter version of the spruce and a non-scented version of the spruce. So that's those three. Next we have the Penlux Masterpiece Grande in the brown wave. I bought this from Atlas Stationers. It was the last chance, and I had an extra, I think 50% off, so I got this at a really good savings. I wanted the brown wave for a while. The only hiccup was that it only had a stub nib. That's all they had left. And stubs typically aren't my favorite, but I've grown to like this one a lot. And so my plan was to put a Kago nib on here. And I did switch it up for a second, but I realized that I like the stub much better. So this is the nib, Penlux nib, and it should have that 1.1 there. And there's a feed. And this is a piston filler. And it has a nice rose gold trim there. It says Penlux. Nice kind of greenish brown pattern. So this one is hard starting as well. I don't know. Well, this one has Diamond Golden Sands in it, which is a a shimmer ink. So I'm going to prime it a little bit. See if I can get it going. Maybe I'll have to stop it and wet it a little bit. Yeah, so I'm gonna prime this. See if I can get this going off screen and come back. Okay, so let's try this again. Penlux, Masterpiece. Actually, I don't know. I don't think it's Delgado. My other one is Delgado. So I'm not sure if I said that, but it's not a Delgado. It's just Masterpiece Grande Brown Wave. And this is a 1.1 stub steel. And the ink, as I said, is Diamine Golden Sands. So what I do is I try to write with this kind of to the side to get a thinner line. So that's really how I like to write with this. And so you can get that kind of a line. You can get a line like this. You can get it like this. And it's not, doesn't seem like a very thick 1.1. That's probably one of the reasons that I like it. And they really smoothed it down really nicely. So I had an issue with my Leonardo Momento Zero stub, and I actually ended up replacing that because I just couldn't bond with that at all. My fingers are contaminated. But so for the most part, it was handling the golden sands pretty well. I think actually what I did was I dipped it and refilled it, so it may have been empty. May have been the reason that it hard started, but it seems to be going pretty well now. So that's the Penlux Masterpiece Grande. It is a chunky pen, not that oversized. You can see it there compared to the Leonardo Momento Zero. It's a little girthier and just a little longer, but that's the Grande. I do like I have two Penlux. Like I said, I have the Delgado and the Peacock, and then that one, and they both write very nicely. So this here is the Hongdian N11, and this is the blue twill. I wanted to get the rhombus one, but I bought this from Essie Buy, and apparently they were out of it. So he or she emailed me and said, you know, we're out, pick another. So I picked the second best option, which was this, what they call blue twill. Fortunately, Amazon does have the rhombus in the blue, so I'm gonna order that probably when I finish this video. So that's the finial and the infinial. Nice clip, usable. Nice band here. It says Hongdian N11. Beautiful blue, matte finish. And here's the nib. And the feed. And this is another cartridge converter filler. The Masterpiece Grande, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this is a piston filler. I think I did. I'm a little scatterbrained today. But this is the Hongdian N11 blue twill. And this is another fine steel. And I have in here J.R. Bond Emerald de Chevaux. And if you notice that this didn't hard start at all, it just started up right away. And it has one of the most shimmery viscous inks out there, the Emerald de Chevaux. But Emerald de Chabot, even though it's shimmery, it's pretty well behaved, I found. This is just an excellent pen, an excellent nib. Good in reverse. Very nice weight. Although it is all metal, it's just very, very lightweight. Very comfortable section. It's not slippery at all. They have it a little bit of a scoop and some ridges there that help with the grip. And it's a decent price. Offhand, I don't remember what the price is, but I think it's less than $30 if I'm not mistaken. But very nice, another very nice Hongdian pen. So that's the N11. And this is the PenBBS Year the Ox, the PenBBS 535 Year the Ox. I've had this for a little while. This is my only PenBBS pen. It is a vac filler, and it does have this little stopper mechanism. You unscrew it, and then it allows the ink to flow, so you can control the flow of the ink. Very unique pen. The looks probably aren't for everyone. Has this little short cap here with this. I'm not sure the clip here. I'm going to use clip in quotation marks. I'm not sure. I've never really used it. Well, I guess it's a little functional, but there's an ox there, and you see there on the top finial. And there's the nib. There's another ox there. Feed. Very unique styling to this pen. Like I said, probably not for everyone, but it's a pleasant writer. It hasn't let me down at all. So hopefully I don't jinx myself here. So this is the PenBBS 535 Year of the Ox. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was the 2022. I'm not sure. I think there was maybe the Year of the Rat last year, if I'm not mistaken. But they should have at least two others since this one. And this is again, fine, still. And this ink in here is Palette Iroshizuku Zero. And that's been pretty much the ink that I've kept in here. I love seeing the blue slosh around. Firm nib. Very smooth in reverse, although a little light, but it does work in reverse. I don't remember how much this cost. I don't think it was super cheap, but I don't think it was super expensive either. It came in a nice box also. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. Quirky pen. And next we have the Conklin Durograph Savoy. I found this on Amazon, just shopping around for a pen. And I think this came up on like my page 8 or something. And I was, oh, Conklin made a pen made out of leather. I never saw this before. So I snapped it up. And then I liked it so much that I bought, see, I think this one's the extra fine. I also bought a fine. And then I saw PenMan also did a review of these pens, and he mentioned the Royale. So the Royale is like this one, except for the leather part here is black, but the cap is all silver. This is nice because the leather extends to the cap. I have two Visconti Dual Touch. They have the leather body here as well, but the cap is metal. And a Waterman Salon also has leather here, but the cap is metal. So this is the only pen that I've had where the leather extends to the cap. So you can see there's also some nice stitching there. And it feels like a substantial leather. It doesn't feel cheap at all. Actually, it feels more substantial than I would say the Waldman. But it just says Conklin there. And Graf. And one of these, maybe it's my fine one. It fell on the floor and the cap broke off. I think it's the fine one. I think this one's okay. But luckily it broke in a spot that was pretty convenient, so I was able to glue it back with no issues. So there's the Conklin, established 1898, and nothing on the end finial. I have this little piece of tape here so I can know that this one is the extra fine. So that's get this out of the way. Switch over to my left hand for a minute. Try not to shake the camera. So this is the Conklin. That started up nicely as well. I like these so much. I also have another Graf that's it's a metal body. It's pretty blue with rose gold. I think I've shown this. I think I've shown that on the channel before. And yeah, all of those Conklins work pretty well. So I've had pretty good luck with my Conklins. Monteverdi not so much, but the Conklins have been pretty good to me. I know some people have issues with them, but I haven't had issues with mine. Been pretty happy. So this is an extra fine steel nib, and the ink in here is Diamine. Another Inkfint 2022. And this is Upon a Star. It does have some movement, but no line weight variation. And it's very nice and smooth for extra fine. Just for me, the perfect amount of tooth and decently wet, I would say. So Upon a Star is a shimmer ink, and this is handling the shimmer pretty well. So there's the nib. There's the normal Conklin breather hole. And it's a cartridge converter fill, and the converter does come with it. Next, a pen that I've showed several times on my channel. This is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Dark Crystal. Probably my favorite Visconti Homo Sapiens because of the ink window there. And there's still a good amount of ink in here. So, make sure I'm in frame. Visconti Homo Sapiens. Dark crystal, and this is a medium, 18 karat. And one thing I will say, and I think I've said this before about my Homo Sapiens, is that the nibs they're all nice, but they're very inconsistent. There's some, I have a medium that feels like a fine that feels like a medium, but this one feels like a decent medium. And the ink in here is the same ink that I keep in it all the time. It's Monteverdi, Mulberry Noir. I'm not sure if I ever put any other ink in here other than Mulberry Noir. Kind of dry. It is a spongy nib, but not one to flex. So I don't even bother flexing, and it's nice in reverse. So that's the Homo Sapiens. And there's the nib and feed. And this is supposed to be, should be ink window here. If you put it up to the light just right, you can you can see through it. But this is the ink window that I use to gauge how much I have in it. And it has the hook safe lock, which is really nice and convenient. This one is a little bit on the ashy side, a little dry. So occasionally I'll just lotion up my hands and put some lotion on it to get rid of some of the dryness. I like for them to be a little not so dry. And the third one of this group is the Mahjong P135. I was writing with this one today, so that's probably why it started up right away. And this is an extra fine bent nib. And I love this nib. This is actually one of my favorite nibs, and why I actually bought the same. Usually I don't buy the same pen with the same nib, but I just love this extra fine bent nib so much. And the ink in here is Poly Iroshizuku Yamaguri. In reverse, it's good. And you get a little bit of line weight variation because it's a bent or fude nib. But because this is such an extra fine fude, you don't get the normal variation that you would get. It's just a very subtle bend to this. Let's see if you can see. It's just very, it's barely even noticeable. But it gives a feeling to this pen that I can't quite explain. There's kind of I guess a crispness to it that I really like. And this is I think a copy of the Mont Blanc with Petite Prince. So you can see there's some big pearl there. It just says Mahjong or Moonman. It says Moonman. And it's a cartridge converter filler. But that's the Moonman P135 or Mahjong P135. I highly recommend this pen if you like extra fine nibs, or actually this feels more like a fine nib, a fine to a medium. Very unique feeling nib. I just love the way that feels. So next we have the Kaco Edge, which is a semi-clone of a Lamy 2000, but it is a cartridge converter filler. A pretty inexpensive pen, but I have Kaco Edge in extra fine, fine, and medium. This one is an extra fine, and they've all written well out of the box. I haven't had to do anything to them. I mean, it's just this clip, you know, which I won't talk about anymore. I've spoken about this clip on the Kaco and the Lamy Studio, but I still have the sticker on there. I'll take that off eventually. But there's the nib. It's a small nib. This is actually real macrolon, like the Lamy 2000. And then we have a metal section here. Pretty comfortable. It's very cool to the touch. Metal section. And it has the nubs here for the capping, just like the Lamy 2000. And go back to the others and show you the inks. That's it. Upon a Star, the Mulberry Noir, and the Yamaguri. Again, I'm kind of all over the place with my delivery today. So the Kaco Edge. This is the brown. My other two are black. I've been dying to get the blue one, but I can't seem to find that one in stock. But extra fine steel nib. And Diamond Trusted Duffel. Diamond Dusted Truffle is the ink. And this is also Inkvent 2022. I didn't get the Inkvent 2023. I haven't come close to finishing 2022 yet. It does have a nice bit of line weight variation. There is quite a bit of movement to the nib. Doesn't do anything in reverse. So wetness. That's the Dusted Truffle. Has a nice bit of shimmer there and shady. And you see the Kaco is started right up. No issue. So that's the Kaco. Another pen that I'd recommend. And lastly, for the fountain pens is the Waterman Corinne. This was one of my birthday Christmas, part of my birthday Christmas haul. Waterman Corinne. And this is a fine 18 karat gold nib. And I got this on sale for $170, I believe. The prices vary on Amazon, but quite often they drop. So I think my amber one I also got for $170, but this one actually was as low as $150, and then it went up, and then it came back down. I think $170 is an excellent price for a pen like this with a 18 karat gold nib. The ink in here is Monteverdi. It's Cherry Oat, and that's part of their gem series. And although this is a 18 karat gold nib, it's pretty firm. There is no line weight variation or anything. It's a, you know, because it's inlaid, and it doesn't flex at all. Very nice in reverse and pretty wet. So that's the nib for the Corinne. I don't know if you can see there, but there's a hole there to suck up the ink. Just if you do get one of these, just make sure you clean it off really well. Otherwise, you're gonna get your hands dirty. But yeah, the Waterman Corinne is a very, very nice pen. I have the, like I said, I have the amber, and it's also a fine. This nib does feel kind of like a medium, so I don't think I would be interested in the medium. But if they had extra fine, I definitely would go for that. So that's the fountain pens, and these are all my highlights for the month. This also was part of my birthday Christmas haul, and this is a ballpoint. I spoke a little bit about it, and this is the Graf von Faber Castell. It's called the Classic, Graf von Faber Castell Classic, and it's a Macassar wood. And I've been really enjoying this. I did replace the ink with a different gel ink refill. Classic. And this is the Macassar. Hopefully I spelled that right. The fountain pen version of this is actually one of my Grail pens, so I got this in the meantime. It's quite a bit less expensive, but I'm really glad I have this. So this is a rollerball, and the ink is Pen Savings, and it's gel refill. The Graf von Faber Castell ink that came with it was okay. It's just not quite as nice as the Pen Savings. And of course, it's just a rollerball, so nothing special there. But that's the, I'll show you this up close as well. Just a plain old rollerball, and that's the beautiful Macassar wood. I don't really know anything about the Macassar as a species, but it's very beautiful on this pen. And then you have the matching dark trim. I don't know if this is ruthenium or what. It's Graf von Faber Castell. What does that say? Handmade in Germany. And nice clip, very functional clip. And there's their crest. But, yep, that's all I have for today. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you next time. Take care.